2, 3. Yeah. So tell me about yourself. Give me a rundown so I can kind of get the lay of the land, where you're coming from, what you're expecting, why you signed up, what kind of your experience, and anything about your background that will help me.
All right. So I'd say growing up, I've been pretty introverted. I've always had a few close friends, and I kind of lost them after I moved away. And even now, there's only about one guy that at my work. Uh, he's an electrical engineer and a mechanical engineer. So luckily, I feel like I can actually talk with him and have some good conversations.
Right.
But aside from that, I don't have a lot of friends since I've been pretty introverted. I just spend a lot of time on my computer and uh, you know, and a ton of time on YouTube. So
Me
I don't
too.
know.
I do a
I don't
lot of
know.
YouTube.
Yeah, I don't know how I came across the. I probably must have clicked on some like crazy feminist video, and then it led to some MGTOW video, and then I just started watching those videos, and uh, I was like, okay, I'm just kind of observing, like what's going on around me and how things are. So, but when I found your channel, I'm like, I could tell like, this guy's real.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I mean, and I actually, after watching a few videos, um, I mean, I hadn't looked at your subscriber count, but I was surprised. I think I found you when you had like 2 or 3 thousand subscribers, and I thought you had like 10,000, 20,000, or like way higher. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, I can't believe this guy is, has so few subscribers because he is by far the best content of any other guy.
Wow. Thanks, man. What was the video that back then that you remember that really stood out to you, or what was the topic, or what was the kind of thing that? Why do you say the best content provider then?
Um, I don't know. I mean, there were. I think I might have watched some Turd Flinging Monkey a little bit. I don't watch him now, but and I watched some. I think his channel now is what Men 101 Mickey.
Oh, right. Right.
His channel got shut down, so uh, just a little bit of him and you, because a lot of there's the phases of red pill rage or whatever, and
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
I've never really had any of that, so
Right. Right.
because a lot of guy like most MGTOW guys actually just they uh they just kind of talk about women too much and how they're such a big problem, and you know it's kind of like, okay, you've analyzed the threat, but it's time to move on. And there was actually another channel I watched, and he had MGTOW in his name, but he changed it, and what he said was like, he's like, sure, it's good to know about women, but like after you know about it, it's like it's time to move on. Like there are bigger things in the world than like complaining about women all the time, which a lot of the kind of MGTOW channels do. So, if anything, he said he's like, you got to watch out for like other men because other men will, like stab you and kill you and you know just leave you to die. So you got to watch out for them. So excuse me. So yeah, um, I guess uh, I'll say that. So I'm or I'm 20. I just turned 20 this month, and I've actually never had a girlfriend. So you know, so I guess that's part and do with me never having any red pill rage or anything. I'm just kind of like, oh, that's how it is. So I mean, not to say I was always told, kind of growing up, that you know, all the same stuff everyone's told, and you know, you're expected to get married and whatnot. But I mean, it's kind of like it's just observing reality, and it's kind of like, huh, you know, these MGTOW guys are saying that they're kind of getting screwed over by women, and you know, that doesn't look like a good deal. So, no, I'm just kind of like looking around, like what's going on here, you know. So, yeah, and so yeah, I just got out of high school last year. Um, I I don't have any plans to go to college right now because I'd say college in America is a pretty bad deal for the most part. A lot of kids go to college and they don't know what they're doing. Like they'll just kind of go like, oh, okay, I guess I'll just kind of go to college because it just like everyone's told like you go to college, and it's like, you know, they go to college, they get in debt, and actually, I think if you most kids get loans from the government, and those loans can't be paid off, even if you file for bankruptcy. So these kids are having tons of debt for, you know, I don't know how long, and they're just, you know, wasting tons of money, kind of doing stuff that they don't know that they don't want to. They have no clue what they're doing. So I was like, there's no way. I mean, I'd say it seems like after fifth grade, I I didn't learn much. Haven't learned anything almost. Uh, I mean, middle school was pretty brainless, and especially high school. I'd say you could take off your shoe, give it a name, and send it through high school. It would probably graduate. I mean, that's. I mean, I think my senior year, I was in some business class, and they gave me a sheet of paper where I was doing simple addition and subtraction, and I actually went up to my teacher and I'm like, "Is this real? Like, this is stuff you would give to someone who's in grade like 1 through 5, you know? I would give this to like a second or third grader, and yet I'm a senior in high school, and you're giving this to me." And I was almost a little insulted, but my teacher, and this was one of the teachers that I actually liked,
Right.
and yeah, and she said to me, she's like, "Sweetie, some of these kids just don't know it," and I'm like, "What? How do they not know how to do basic plus and minus? This is, you know, this is high school. This is something you should have learned a long time ago."
Right.
And I just I couldn't believe it. I'm like, this is the most basic stuff, and you know, they have no clue. So,
Wow.
I mean, there's just stuff like that. That's, you know, yeah, I just don't even know what to say about that. So,
Yeah, those guys are going to college too.
yeah, and they're probably going to college, and I think the price of college is up like 300 to 500% over. I mean, I don't know. I don't know the exact numbers, but the price of college has gone up, and college degrees just aren't worth what they used to be. Like 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I
So,
agree with that. Yeah.
and a lot of kids actually, in the degrees they get, they don't even get a job that utilizes that degree.
Right. Right. That's so true. Oh my gosh, that's so true. So many jobs that my friends have just have nothing to do with what they studied, and it shows what a farce the whole thing is.
Yeah. So, I mean, only way I would recommend that someone should go to college is if like you want to become a doctor and you know you want to become a doctor,
Right.
and
You have to go to college
you're
for them.
100% certain you want to become a doctor, and that's it. You go to college because you know you want to become a doctor, and it's what you feel inside you, and it's like, I want to become a doctor. Okay, then I would recommend going to become a doctor because it's what you want to do.
Even
But
then,
there's
I would caution. I mean, I talked about it in this one of my episodes, but I would caution knowing or being so sure that you know what it's like to be a doctor. You know, it's like people say they want to be a doctor, but they never worked as a doctor. So they don't
right.
really know what it's like to be a doctor in real life, like day to day. What is it like? What do you do? Do you like it? What kind of people do you work with? How much, stress does it cause? And what other options are
Yeah.
available in the world?
Yeah. I hear that there are some doctors that are so stressed out by the time they get to age like 50 or 60, they have to retire because it's so stressful. And
Well,
there
the
might be,
type of doctors, like for example, with dentists, it has, I think it's the highest suicide rate of any profession. So I don't know why dentists have so much suicide, but it's something to, like that's a type of doctor, right? That's a medical professional. So I don't know. It's. I think a lot of people that even in that one rare instance that you gave, I think they might think they want to be a doctor, but do they really want to be a doctor? Because I've done a lot of professions in my life, and and every time I'm disappointed. Almost every single time, I'm like, this is fucked. Like I don't want to do this, And the thing is then I had to change, right? I had to change professions, and that is not easy at all. And also, people look down on you when you do that, and also you pass
yeah,
up a lot of money. So it doesn't look good to women. It doesn't look good to your parents. It doesn't look good to your friends. It doesn't look good, financially. It looks terrible to everybody except for somebody who's a self-directed individual who knows what they want long term and will not put up with doing bullshit. And so, 20 years later, you look smart, but my God, the pain in the meantime is just incredible because you look like a total loser. You look like someone who can't stick to things, but actually you're getting into it. It's like going to a party and you realize they're a bunch of idiots, and then you're like, wait a second, or eating food and saying, I don't want to ever come here again. This food is not good. Right. And then you go somewhere else, but to, everybody else is living pretty much a fake life. So they're just doing a profession they chose to do and they're making the best out of it. Right. I don't want to
yeah,
do that. I never wanted to do that. And I don't care. I don't care the cost at all. Like, I just don't care. I will not do what I don't want to do. So I'll just leave. And then people were just like, fuck, you were really good at that. Like I made a ton of money doing one job, headhunting. I was making over $100,000 a month in my pocket. My expenses were like 5,000. I was making like 105 a month, and it was easy with just a few phone calls a week. I swear to God, I was so good at it. But once I got really good at it, I realized that that this was going to be my life. Like this is it. Like this is my thing, right? And I don't know. There's just more to life. I just didn't want to just do that, And I realized I couldn't do it halfway. I had to either do it or not do it. So I said, "Fuck it, I'm quitting." And I took a lot of the money and I put it in the business, and I lost it all in another business, in a manufacturing business. I manufactured toys and opened up retail stores. Lost all the money overnight, and so you don't look good when you try these things, but in the end, you come out. I think if you're resilient and you keep trying, I think you come out with a brilliant life. But it's fucking hard, man.
yeah. One of the books I read just said, like if you start out working at McDonald's, it's like that's okay, work at McDonald's, but as soon as you stop learning stuff, move on to the next job.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you become
Yeah.
a plumber or something, and you're a plumber for maybe a year and a half or something, and you kind of learn what's going on there. And as soon as you're like, I'm not really learning anything anymore, you just get more and more experience, and you move on to the next thing.
The only thing I would add to that is that there's a lot of aspects to things. So, for example, two people work at McDonald's. One person starts his own restaurant chain, and the other one moves up to making fries, right? So, I think that you have to honestly look if you're maximizing the opportunity, because like a plumber needs to build a brand online. They need to get leads. They need to client relationships so that the clients come back to them and recommend them to other people. They could make YouTube videos. They could also look at the inherent problems in plumbing and invent a new pipe, or a new fixture and get a patent on it, and then create a better product, right? And then start to manufacture and sell that product. So the job is not just the job to me. I'm always looking at what, everything, every aspect of the job, and also like for example, like if I'm a plumber, say I'm a good plumber, what website or what online business would they want plumbing experience? So for example, like if you were a lawyer and you didn't like being a lawyer, you could become a headhunter for lawyers because all the vocabulary, you know how to talk to lawyers. So you could be a good headhunter because when you interview lawyers, they're going to respect you because you'll have a law degree, right? One of my friends had a law degree and he opened up a notary, and he undercut everybody by like from $69 to $9.99, and he ended up with a very, very, very successful business using his law degree. So that was the only thing I would say is don't limit your imagination about what these opportunities actually mean to an optimistic learning individual. They're not the same as the guy next to you. You know, like I'll give you one last example. One of my friends, he's extremely wealthy, and I asked him how he gets all his ideas, and he says, I watch TV. And I was like, what the fuck? He's like, I watch TV. That's what I do. And I'm like, I was sitting there with him and he's watching TV. And I was so shocked because he's such a smart guy. And then I said, well, and then I thought, wait a second. He's not just watching TV. Like, what is he doing here? So I said, what are you doing? He said, well, I'm watching to see what trends are happening or what's new, you know? And then he made the Pokemon doll and the Pokemon cards back in like 92. And he became like insanely rich because he realized that the kids wanted Pokemon dolls and they wanted Pokemon cards. And so he got that from watching TV. So two people can do the same thing and one person is getting crazy value out of it and the other person is just mindlessly doing it. So that's the only warning I would say about that.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'd say when it comes to just having knowledge and experience, there's one video I watched and it was like, one guy who's in one situation, he may have like a deck of cards and each card represents a choice. And in one situation, he only sees, his 5 cards. There's only 5 choices he can make. For someone who's way more experienced, they may see like 37 cards, 37 different choices that they can make in their situation. And, there may be one card, out of his 37 cards that just, it's glowing because it's, such a good choice. And it's like, this is what I'm going to do. This is clearly the best choice. So,
right.
So,
It's so true. It's so true, Joe. It's very, very true. And sometimes even if you see further than everybody else around you, there's another person who sees 100 times farther than you, and is putting pieces together that change everything. So that's what I would recommend is to read a lot of autobiographies of famous people, successful people, because when they tell you how they looked at something they were doing, like they were a street sweeper, but then they realized that the water didn't go down the drains properly, that it wasn't, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't designed right. So then he came up with a better design for the drain and then ended up, being super successful and happy and rich. And it started from being a street sweeper. So those kind of stories are good because they get you in that mindset of realizing that you're missing 99% of life, and that it's interesting it's not just for rich. I mean, to be rich, it's not even to be rich at all. Actually, it's so that you live goddamn life. You know what I mean? It's not just, it's not even for money at all. In the end, it's about fucking taking advantage of this beautiful thing. Really.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, reading, on successful people is definitely a good thing. Have you heard of the survivor fallacy?
No.
I'll try and explain it pretty simply from what I understand, and I'll give it an example. So most people look at like if someone survives a bear attack, you look at them and say, like what did they do to survive this bear attack, right? Or you look at someone who has a successful company. You say, what did they do? Well, sure, there's definitely a lot of good stuff from looking at people who are at the top, but you actually can get tons of value from looking at those who did not succeed. You can say, what did all these companies do that was wrong? And how did they fail? And I think here's the example. So in World War II, I think there were some bomber planes, and they'd come back from some bombing events, and they were looking at the planes like, all right, where are these planes getting shot? Where do we need to put extra armor to reinforce them?
Right.
And there were like the tails, the wings had gotten shot a lot, so like we need to put more armor on the wings and the tail, right?
Okay.
But one guy was like, no, these are the planes that came back. Look at where they're not getting shot. and the cockpit and the engines didn't have any bullets in them, or very few bullets in them. So it's like, these are the planes that are coming back. They're coming back because they didn't get shot in the cockpit or the engines.
Right.
So it's like, we're only seeing the ones that succeeded. We're not seeing the ones that failed. We need to look at the ones that are failed to know where to reinforce and put our armor. So they reinforced and they armored the cockpits and the engines more, because the planes that were coming back, they very few shots that hit the engines or the cockpit. So
Right.
like,
So the plane can take the damage, but the people can't.
yeah, the people or the engines can't take the damage.
Okay, so it was the engines and the people. Okay, that's interesting. Wow.
Yes, the cockpit and the engines. So the planes that get shot in the cockpit or the engines, those aren't going to be the ones that come back, right?
Mm.
So there is value in looking at some failed things.
Right.
It was just a video I saw, and I'm like,
sure.
hey,
Hey,
there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
Because if
There's another interesting one you might like. Was very interesting to me. In fact, it was absolutely fascinating to me. But they looked at survivors of emergencies, terrorist attacks, airplane crashes, and things like that. And nobody had ever, believe it or not, nobody had ever looked at these guys before, because everybody assumed that they were very decisive people, very intelligent, and very cool under pressure. And so that was kind of like the standard narrative, is that anybody who survives, like watching their family get shot, it's because they somehow have nerves of steel, and they can handle it, right? They can handle it, and they stay cool, and they take advantage of a situation when they see it in real time. So they did a study of the people that survived the fires, like for example, one particular one, there was an airplane that crashed on the ground, and the people were still alive in the plane. And what happened was, everybody in the plane was basically frozen. So like, the plane's on fire, and everybody's acting like they're waiting for dinner to be served.
Okay, I think I heard this, and there was one lady, and she got up and walked out of the plane while everyone else just sat in the plane, and they all burned and died.
The reason why she got out is because she had watched the video, the demonstration of where the exits were. So she had studied beforehand, and so even though she was also in shock, she had trained herself to know that if there was anything, you just walk over there and go to the right, and that's it. And she knew how to open the door. And so that this is why the Marines teach you how to take your rifle apart in the dark with your eyes closed, and to clean it and put it back together, because when you're in battle, it's too much stress for even the coolest person to figure out how to clean the rifle and figure out how to put it together. So it was really important that you train yourself to do it mindlessly. So it's just like a natural thing. It's like you've already thought of where the door is, how far the door is away, how big the door is, how to open the door, and how to get over there. And you've already looked at the aisle, so you can see, basically how many aisles are up there, right? So that when it happens, you just do it like mindlessly. So it's not about being cool. It's not about she was cooler than the other guys. It's just that it seemed like that to her. But the reason why she was like that is because she knew where the exit was, and she knew what to do. So, for example, what I do, how I use that is because there's a lot of terrorist attack these days in malls and stuff. And there's a big Muslim population in Thailand. So there's a lot of terrorist attacks, especially in the south. But I know eventually there'll be one in Bangkok for sure. And so what I do when I go to the malls, that I usually work in the malls. I usually do my online stuff just sitting in a mall. So I find in those malls that I'm in every day, I'm not paranoid, but if I go there a lot, more than, a few times, I will kind of wander around the mall, and I'll look around for the cleaners exits. So where do the cleaners, like they have an extra, they don't use the elevator. They use a special stairwell. There's a way to get out, and then there's usually a way onto the roof too. There's like a way to get out of the mall. And so I just kind of, when I'm taking a break from working, what I'll do is I'll walk around the mall and I'll look at the different ways out of the mall. So if there was a terrorist attack, I would just go whoosh, straight for that fucking exit. I'd be out of there. And there's no way I'd be caught because I've already thought it out in advance. So it's super easy for me to, when it happens, and it would be so fast. And so I'd be out of the mall in like 2 minutes, like literally before even people even realize, so that kind of stuff is the way to survive in this world, is to think of it in advance. Like, okay, if it happened, what would I do? And then you've already thought it out. So no matter how stressed you are, because sometimes when there's a fire or something, actually people don't realize this, but inhalation of smoke is so damaging that you can like, if you just stand up instead of crouch down, you can just be dead. Like you just a few breaths and you're done. You can't do anything. So you have to know, like you have to crouch down. So you have those extra time until the fire gets so bad that it's all the way down to the ground. And then you have to know where the exit is. And as long as you do those two things, it's actually relatively easy. They're very rare that an emergency happens so fast, like a nuclear explosion, hundredths of a second, that you don't have time. Most emergencies are very slow, actually. But the thing is you just have to have thought about it in advance. And for me, every time I go to a mall to work anywhere in the world, I always do that. And so now I've gotten pretty good at it, where I almost don't even need to do it anymore, because I can kind of picture where the exits are and which ways out there exist, So, and then once I was able to get out, I could help those guys inside a lot, because I could tell the police what's going on, how many people were there, where they are. You know what I mean? I could give real-time information. So it's not just to save myself. It's also, I could change the whole scenario, because for the first time, somebody that's in the middle of something would be suddenly out and real time giving information to the police. And so it could be beautiful, right? Or I might get a gun and go back in myself and do it myself, take care of the guys myself, whatever I want to do or decide to do. But I would have the knowledge to do that, and I'd be safe,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when the adrenaline hits, you go into fight or flight, and you can't even think. Your ability to think is just kind of goes out the window. So
right.
Unless you have something that you've thought about before, and you can go, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do. I've already thought about it, rather than having to think about it.
Yeah. Right. And then I think also there's another add-on, a benefit, is that when you start to think this way in life, is you just become very confident, because you just kind of know, like, kind of whatever happens, you're doing what you can do to make yourself safe and your life better. That's what gives you confidence. You can't make the world spin on a different axis, or you can't make the sun heat up or not heat up, asteroid hit the earth or not, but you can change your own self. And that's what gives you confidence. You say, hey, I, could have gone down with this one, but I didn't, because I did this, and that gives you confidence. So I think that, and also the other way goes around too, is where you get paralyzed by fear. You realize you think to yourself, I must be kind of a loser who doesn't, can't control himself. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a deadly future on that one. Whereas somebody who gets confident, like for myself, I've actually survived a lot of dangerous situations. So I get more and more confident. Like I almost enjoy them now, like a huge car crash or something. I almost enjoy it, because I kind of, I've survived so many things that it's fun, for me, it's interesting.
Well, I mean, one of the things that you said that I found really interesting and makes sense, kind of thinking about it, is you said when you get in a crash of any sort, it would be like, a car crash, motorcycle crash, you kind of go like kind of limp, kind of like jelly.
Yes, I do.
That's what you said. And I was like, because like I suppose your reaction would be to tense up and kind of brace.
Yep. And this will save your life, Joe. This is serious stuff.
And I actually think like drunk drivers, since they have like slower reaction time or something, like they're less likely to get killed in a car crash.
Oh, it always happens, because I go to AA, right? And there's a lot of guys who they survived a terrible car crash, got cut out by the jaws of life, but the people they hit died.
Yeah,
it always happens. My mom worked in an emergency room, and she said it was like really pissed the doctors off because it's always like that. The drunk survives, and the normal people don't.
Yeah. And so I was thinking like, he's saying to kind of go almost like jelly. I mean, like I'd maybe kind of put my arms kind of like around my head, but aside from that, just kind of. I mean, but like unless you knew beforehand to just kind of like relax, you're going to tense up because you only have a split second to think, right?
I
You don't
think
really
you
have.
can. I think you can train yourself on this one. I don't think it's as difficult as you're thinking. I think you can train yourself to relax.
Well, I mean, I'd say like if you didn't know beforehand to kind of go like jelly, then
Right,
you just
right.
brace up. And I'm like, all right. I mean, not that I'll, I mean, not that I know how to practice it or anything. I mean, I could probably go to some gym or something and maybe jump off something and try and relax or whatever. But I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Drunk drivers thrive and like,
I
huh.
think
So I mean, if I'm ever driving my car and there's 1 or 2 seconds till some disaster, you know, I'll have it in mind. So
right,
I
right.
mean,
I think trampoline is good
that's
for that. Trampoline.
trampoline.
Yeah, because when you jump up on your feet and then you fly up high and then you relax and then you land sideways, like bounce on your side, and then you flip over and you hit your other side, and you on a big trampoline you can do all kinds of tricks. That kind of teaches you to relax as you fly and to kind of like aim your body somewhat. It's almost like skydiving or something.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I had a trampoline when I was younger. I think it kind of broke down eventually, and I mean
yeah.
that almost makes me want to get a new one. Even
Yeah,
though
yeah.
it's pretty
I
old.
tell you, my kid when my kid comes, I want the kid to learn to trampoline young. I'm going to teach because I actually have thought about this. I was thinking about what's the best way to teach someone to relax when they're crashing, and I think trampoline might be the best way to start. And then you learn, that the best way to survive is to relax, and then you can control your body while you're relaxing at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, when you jump up and land on your legs, you don't keep your legs stiff. You kind of crouch down, and you have to let your legs absorb the shock
Right.
because you know your legs are super stiff, then something's gonna get broken or messed up for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. When I was 20, let's see, I was only 26 or something. I got a job 1 day a week teaching at a kindergarten in Japan, and it was a school that for the kids that were elite athletes, and they were going to be in the Olympics and stuff. And the guy I was working with, he won the gold medal in skiing, and then another guy won the gold medal in the trampoline. So I had to the kids liked me, so they ended up having me all day, not just the English class. And then I had to teach them trampoline. I had to learn trampoline. So that was where I learned that is like with this Olympic coach teaching me how to do it, and it was really cool. It was like super amazing. And the kids, I think it was a key thing for them is to relax while your body is flying in the air, and they would do like these spins, like 3 or 4 flips, and almost like high dive or something. They were doing those kind of moves, and
yeah,
they were totally relaxed. The kids were so relaxed, and and the adult too. The one guy who won I can't remember his name, but who won the gold medal. He was totally relaxed. He was like 40, he didn't mind at all, flip it upside down 4 times. If he misses the thing, he would, have spinal injury. And I was like, it's fine. He's relaxed.
yeah. It always amuses me to see people, whether they're on like a bicycle or some motorbike or something, they're doing 3 or 4 flips, and it's like, I mean, it's impressive, but it's kind of like, you'd want to learn how to do it, but you know that like while learning how to do it, there's a risk that you break your neck and
Oh,
die or something.
yeah, for sure, for sure. And you have to think, is that particular thing worth it or not?
Yeah,
Is that
it,
extreme sport? Because now there's some really extreme sports out there that you can get in over your head. Like it might not be. Some challenges are not worth it. Other ones are.
yeah. I mean, it would be cool to be able to do 3 backflips on a motorcycle, but yeah, I'm not willing to risk breaking my neck and or getting paralyzed or dying or something. It's
Well, you know what it is I think it's worth paralyzing and dying, but it's worth it if I want to do it. But what happens to a lot of extreme sports and young kids like yourself is you guys are young, right? So there's a lot of social pressure to do things and to succeed. And you want to make people happy. And also you want to succeed in your career, right? So somebody might start doing the motorcycle flip thing. And then, they say to themselves, if I just do one more half flip, that no one's
I'll be,
ever done,
so much better than all my friends, and they'll be amazed.
That's
by
right.
me.
That's right. And
Yeah.
so they're not doing it because they want to. They're doing an extreme thing that they're not ready for, and they don't even want to do it to impress people or to somehow beat everybody. And then next thing you know, they're paralyzed. So I think it depends on what you want. I think it's okay to risk being paralyzed or dying, but it's got to be something you want to do. It's something I'm interested in and I'm doing for myself. I'm not doing it because of any kind of social pressure or any kind of bullshit. It's really what I want to do. And I think that gives me, if I have that feeling, it gives me kind of a coolness where I'm focused on it and I accept the consequences of my actions. But it's this different thing if I'm being pushed into it. And I know when I was a kid, I did do a lot of things that I didn't want to do that were only to impress people. So I'm not above it at all. In fact, my adolescence was pretty much, that was my whole adolescence, was doing things to impress people, because I was always kind of fearless kind of guy. So I was always go first. And so there was no limit to what they're like, that hunger to make my friends impressed or girls or whatever. There's no end to it for me. I can just keep going until I die, and there's no benefit at all to me because nobody really cares in the end anyway, So that's the only risk I would say. That's a warning I would give you. It's fine to risk your life, but don't do it for other people.
Yeah, I'd agree that whatever you're doing, there are some guys who will go rock climbing, without ropes or whatever, and no one's making them do it, and they're not trying to impress anyone. They're just doing it for themselves.
Right. Like the serious shit that I've done in my life, I could tell you some stories that are insane. I did it for myself. I didn't do it for anybody else. There was other people around, and I maybe wouldn't have done it if they weren't there for whatever reason, but it wasn't for them. It was something I just thought, fuck it, I want to do it. Yeah, I'm going to do it, And it's a different thing where your motivation comes from, So what do you think? Like, what's your take on anything? Well, it sounds like you're really thinking about what you want to do in life, like career and stuff. If you want to go more on that, that's good. Or if you want to talk about women or friends or travel, or what is it that's kind of like, you know what I mean, that's motivating you or bothering you? Or
I'll say, our one thing I started up at the start of this year, I'll just say real quick, is I started rock climbing, and
I love fucking rock climbing.
At a gym, and I'm just addicted to it. It's it's like as soon as my body is recovered.
Yeah.
And you want to be careful because you don't want to get an injury, because that, you got to know when to quit, or else, when the tendons in your hands, that could take a long time to heal up. So, but like as soon as I've, had a day off or 2 days off and recovered, it's like I want to go. And just some of the routes that I'll do. It's
What have you done? Have you done a 5'10" yet, or a 5'11"? And what's your highest?
Oh, okay, that's right. I think I've done. Let me say this real quick. So at the gym I'm going to, they have both top rope and bouldering.
Oh, okay.
And so top rope is what you're talking about. I think I've climbed I don't want to get it wrong. Maybe like a 510D or maybe 511. I don't want to say I'm too good.
So you're getting good. 5'10" is tough. That's very tough. Okay. We're talking anybody, would listen to this and they wouldn't know the 5'10", that you're up there. If you're getting a 5'11" in, fuck, that's serious.
I don't know about 5'11", but I'm pretty sure I've done a 510D.
Okay.
And then so in bouldering, it's you don't have any rope tied onto you. at my place, they just have like they have thicker pads at the bottom, and I think the wall's 16 feet tall or something. But
Okay.
they're kind of shorter routes, but there are more, kind of difficult or challenging in some ways.
Yeah,
So
I've never done it in a gym. I've always done it on either boulders or uh, rock faces or up waterfalls in Japan.
yeah, well, I mean, I bet doing it out in nature is actually quite a bit harder than doing it in the gym.
You
But
should definitely get into that, man. I know a great fucking climb in Japan if you go to Tokyo. It's so good, and you can get out from Tokyo downtown. You can get there for about $10, and it's insane, man. It is insane. You climb. It's called Tanzawa area, and you climb up this river using Japanese sandals, using Japanese straw sandals. Before they wore shoes, they wore these sandals, and the straw sandals called waraji. Waraji are the only thing that is grippy on these moldy rocks, these slimy rocks. And there's no technology better than these fucking warajis. Like seriously, there's nothing even compares. They actually grip these rocks pretty goddamn good. And you wear these things, and then you go up this stream as it's coming down on you in the summer. It's amazing. It is fucking great, man. It's free too. You don't have to pay or anything.
that's
It's
pretty.
insane.
Yeah, that sounds.
It's you should definitely do it. Like you will be so fucking stoked. Yeah.
Yeah, I've taken more than my share of slips on slippery rocks and creeks,
Oh yeah, for
and
sure. Yeah.
seen some other people. I mean, it's like you think like, this rock looks dry, or you think you're stepping on a good spot, and then it just happened too many times.
Well, that's when you got to relax too. You know, it's the same thing, right? It's the relax, man.
Yeah.
Boom. So okay, so you're challenging yourself physically. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So
And you're
there's
studying,
that.
are you an electrical engineer? You said, or what is your?
No. I said I said my friend is. I have a friend
Okay.
who's an electrical and mechanical engineer. Yeah,
Yeah.
at the place I'm working right now, it's a nutraceutical company. I think is the correct way to call it.
What
And
kind of company? I couldn't hear that.
nutraceutical, it's like pharmaceutical, but nutraceutical.
Okay. All right.
And I think pharmaceutical would be kind of like drugs, but this is like making vitamins and stuff. So the the product we're making right now is you've heard of turmeric, right?
Yeah, I eat raw turmeric, yeah, in the morning.
Uh, so this it binds turmeric to whey protein, and the these absorption rates are just way higher, and it helps people that have had tons of inflammation
Right.
and
Inflammation, yeah.
and I, I mean I don't want to talk too much about it because I haven't studied up on it. I just kind of know
Right. It's easy
vaguely
to
what it
fall into
does.
marketing. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, from what I've heard, it's helped some people with some back pain and arthritis, and it's
Cool.
to a degree from what I've heard, kind of a miracle drug for some people. So
Right. What do you want to do? What is your kind of like? Do you or do you want to do nothing? Like what do you want to do with your life? Like
I
what?
mean, like, so I've heard kind of some of you like you're like you've gone to Japan, some of these other countries, and it's kind of like, how could I not want to go at least travel to some of these other countries? I mean, I'll say this right now. I'm kind of a little skeptical of Europe right now because they're having an immigration crisis or something. So
Europe is good. I mean, I lived in Europe before I went to Asia. I lived in Sweden, and my sister lived in Paris. So my first trip to Europe was in Paris, and it was great, and it was very interesting. I wouldn't listen to those reports. I think anywhere can be interesting, and you can learn a lot. But the reason why I don't like Europe is a couple of reasons. Or I wouldn't choose it as the number one place is because it is expensive. It is first world, and so they're also not. There aren't the laws are quite established. The legal system is, you know what I mean. Like it's like you can't get away with anything. You can't. There's no flexibility. So
yeah,
like the U.S. when it was the pioneer days, it was, you could do things, and as long as it wasn't hurting anybody, people were okay with it. You know what I mean? And then once the laws came, it didn't even matter if it's hurting anybody or helping anybody. It just mattered what is the law. That's all that
Yeah.
matters now.
It
It's
was
like,
no harm, no foul
yeah,
before. But
yeah,
now it's like, oh, you're breaking the law, you're going to jail.
that's right.
Yeah.
You're doing something that's against the law, and you're like, well, it's not hurting anybody. And they're like, are you stupid? Like, this is the law. You know what I mean? Like, and people that live in those environments they have to live this way. But for me, I don't relate to that. So I prefer places where it's more flexible, where the natural law is more in effect. So
Yeah.
I have to be good to people, right? And if I'm good to people, then I get support from other people. And if I'm bad to people, then I'll get fucked over, right? So this is the kind of environment I like to live in, not a legalistic one. So um, I'd say like Asia is your best choice. Asia is definitely your best choice.
Yeah.
No
I
doubt
mean,
about it. And
I,
South America is like that, but and I've never been to South America, so don't get me wrong, I don't know everything about it. I'm not an expert in any way, but I've had so many friends who've been in both, lived in both. And the thing about South America is similar to what they have going on in the Philippines is there's a lot of violent crime. And there's one thing I don't like is violent crime because almost anything else you can overcome, you know, but you can't overcome, you know, getting shot in the face so the guy
yeah.
doesn't, so you don't
So,
recognize the guy.
yeah, two guys driving up on a motorcycle and with a gun, and there's nothing you can do against that.
That's right. That's right. There's nothing you can do. So I think that I separate those two things. Now, if I was in that environment and the guy was shooting at me, I might actually enjoy evading him and get off on the excitement of it. But I don't want to put myself in that type of situation because it's so final, right? It's so fucking final. Like, you know what I mean? There's not that much to learn from getting shot at, really. There's something to learn, but there's not that much to learn. So I would say my curiosity is not peaked that much with getting shot at or whatever, robbed a million times. So although I'm not saying it's all bad, it can be good. You can learn a lot. I've been robbed a lot, but Asia is better because they just don't have as much violent crime here. They really don't. Like when I go back to America, even I have to, you know, I'm always kind of watching out for things, you know. Whereas
Yeah.
here, I don't watch out. Anytime I've been in a situation, I was kind of asking for it. It's like 3 a.m. You know what I mean? Like I knew that, you know, things happen. Taxi drivers get drunk. Things can get out of control. That neighborhood is maybe not the best area. So when I have gotten in trouble here, it's been somewhat. I knew I was putting myself in, and it wasn't every day. It wasn't my routine. Like I go to get some toothpaste and I get shot in the face. You know, that wasn't happening. You know, so I think that's what I would personally. Everybody's got different viewpoints on life. I've spent my whole life traveling. I think this is a very fundamental thing that you should think about. And a lot of people don't really think about this, but this is the type of thing that will get you over time. You're rolling the dice every fucking day for no reason with no benefit. You don't want to do that. And it's the same with something like noise. I hate loud noises near my house, like so a noisy road. I've always hated it. And I found out like recently from reading papers is that heart attack is much, much higher if you live near a noisy road. And it just causes stress that you can't deal with. You think you can, but you can't. So when you're moving somewhere, you have to think of these long-term things. These will be not the short-term things, not how you're welcome in the country and this and that. You just think about those kind of things, and you're putting yourself in a better, almost more scientific perspective. Because long-term, things will affect you. If everybody's getting shot, you will get shot. If everybody's getting robbed, you'll get robbed. If there's earthquakes happening all the time and floods, you're going to be in one, right? So think of those things a little bit. And that's why I like Asia, but I don't like the Philippines as much because it's just so dangerous. There's so much crime there. I do like to go there, and I might live there at some point, but until now, I prefer like Thailand. You have a lot of things like the Philippines, beaches, good weather, great food. Actually, the food's even better in Thailand, much better. And nice people, but you don't have the crime. And so Thailand to me is like a million times better just because of that.
I've heard in Japan that you can leave your laptop and your phone out and they won't steal it, and they have incredibly low rates, and everyone's super respectful.
Oh yeah, Japan is great like that. Japan is like probably Sweden used to be like this, but now it isn't. But when I was in Sweden, I lived in Sweden. That was like that. I could leave, thousands of dollars in my backpack on a seat, and then go exploring for the day in the train station, and then come back and get my bag, and nobody would touch it. And Japan is somewhat like that.
Yeah, I mean,
Japan's changed, though.
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go there and still leave my, phone or wallet out on the table. I mean, especially, from living in America, if anything, I'm almost every 30 minutes or something checking my pockets to make sure I got my stuff and, it hasn't
Right.
fallen out of my pockets,
Yeah.
if I'm wearing cargo shorts or whatever, I'm constantly, almost like patting myself
Yeah,
to make
but
sure.
pretty much, don't worry, don't worry. Like I said, Asia is generally not high crime, not high violent crime. So, and also things that you think would bother you might not bother you. So, for example, like a communist government, a communist oppressive government, like in China, doesn't bother you that much when you live there, really.
Yeah,
But violent crime does, and like parts of China are more dangerous than others. Where I lived in Shanghai was very safe and was awesome, and I really loved it, actually. Um, and the government didn't really bother me. I mean, I didn't like them. I still don't like communist governments. I'm not into them. I understand them. I understand propaganda. I speak fluent Chinese. It drives me insane, but it doesn't bother me as much as you would think, as an individual. Like, there's other things that bother me more, and so having financial opportunities, business opportunities, is a big thing, big plus that China has, and so these kind of things make up for a lot. So
yeah. I
I
hear
think
China's pretty lax on their laws. They're pretty easygoing.
they
So
used
I
to
mean,
be. They're
are
not so much anymore. Actually, they're getting more legalistic. Actually,
yeah,
yeah,
are
they've changed a lot since I lived there. Used to be very relaxed. Now it's getting pretty legalistic. Basically, what happens is, as a country gets wealthy, they become boring. So you want to kind of get out before that period, and then go to another country. Is in that phase, that adolescent phase, where they're optimistic and growing, and the girls are like going through a sexual revolution. I think these are the things I look for when I move to a country,
yeah.
and
I
then
think
opportunity, of course.
yeah. I think I could be wrong. I mean, this was just something I saw in a video real quick. It could be completely false, but kind of like what we did to China, giving them cheap jobs or whatever. I think they're now doing to Africa or something. So what we did to China, they're now doing to Africa. So I mean, that could be completely false. It's
Well,
just
we,
something I
we,
heard.
we built up China. We built their industrial base, and so did the Germans and the
Yeah,
Japanese. So I think China is forever indebted to the countries that invested technology and money and know-how to help create that country, and the wealth that's in that country. They were a hopeless, hopeless place. And
yeah,
they did the work, but the technology was the key thing. Because you can work as hard as you want, if you don't have technology, you're just sitting around moving logs around. And
yeah,
so I don't think we did anything to them besides help them, really. And that's what they're doing to Africa too. China is actually investing money, um, and of course there's corruption, and it's a complicated story. I had no
yeah,
doubt about it.
yeah,
But when all is said and done, the Africans like the Chinese, I think. Okay, now it is complicated. Okay, get me wrong. There's certain things that Chinese do in Africa that are just driving them insane, and there's like huge rebellions. It does, but overall, I think that the Africans appreciate the fact that the Chinese are treating them like human beings. So what I mean by that is, like, if I go to Africa, okay, and I say to the guys, I'm going to dig a well for you guys, right? I'm going to bring a bunch of like religious people with me. We're going to dig a well for your village, right? Now they're going to let me dig the well, right?
yeah,
But do they really want a fucking well? They probably want some porn or like a cell phone or something, right? You know,
yeah. Oh
or
yeah. I mean, they're probably like, give us the good shit.
yeah, or some
What are you
noodles.
doing? Give us some wells.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So the Chinese are going over there, and the Westerners go to Africa, and they're like, let's dig a well. The Chinese are like, let's put in a highway, let's put in a nice port, let's connect things, let's make transportation happen, let's make it possible to export goods, because you don't have crumbling infrastructure, and let's train a bunch of workers, of course, very low wages, but that's how people start, right? That's how we all start. We all start at the bottom, and the Chinese are doing that. And so they really are winning hearts and minds in Africa. And the Westerners are just too stupid to understand what's going on, because you look 20 years down the road, and sure, everything that like the human rights people are saying is totally true, but you got to look at the whole picture. The whole picture is China is taking Africa, and there's no doubt about it. And it's because they're giving men opportunities to work, and fucking people want to do shit with their lives. They don't want to fucking they want to make money. They want to go get a wife. They want to have some kids. They want to go to a prostitute. They want to buy a car. They want to build a house. They want to have a cell phone. This is what guys want. I think it's beautiful what the Chinese are doing. Really, it's one thing I really agree with the Chinese on.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
Africa's happening. I mean, you can go to Africa. It's got a lot of violent crime for sure, but there are opportunities there. There really are. There are opportunities in Africa right now, especially in. There's basically, to put it in a nutshell, so you can understand Africa as a foreigner, as a possible expatriate, is you have two kinds of countries. You have countries with oil, and you have countries without oil. Countries with oil have money. Countries that have money have opportunity because they need things. So as you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it starts out with, safety and security, right? And then it goes up, and then it's like enlightenment, right? So those countries that have money are moving up that pyramid. Now, of course, they have corruption too and all this other stuff, violence, but all that being said, they are moving up the scale. And so they need educated people to do stuff for them and to teach them. And so things that you don't think you don't think are that important, are very important in countries that don't have them. An understanding of how things work,
Yeah. So as they move up the hierarchy, you could come in and fulfill those needs that they, as they come.
Well, there's all kinds of things. I mean, I don't want to make a rosy picture, but I'm just saying, like, life is difficult. Okay, it's fucking hard. All this shit is super hard. Okay, what I'm talking about here, it's not easy, but it's still true what I'm saying. And if you understand that, you can find opportunities. Like, I have a friend, he's Korean, and he went to Africa. Which country was it? Fuck, I don't remember now. He invited me to come. I didn't go, but he was in this country that was an oil-rich country. And what he found was it was quite easy to make friends with the government officials and the rich people, because there wasn't no foreigners there. So he made friends with them, and he had this guy who, like, literally like some kind of movie. He did like naked women around his house and all on their sofas and everything. And then he would sit there like the king, And then he said, I need stuff. And he said, what do you need? He said, I need stuff, anything. I need things to buy. And then he's like, what do you want? He's like, stuff. Like, I have nothing here.
Like TVs, game systems, computers.
Plastic plates, fucking glasses, computers, tires, copper.
Cars.
Cars. And so he said to me, he made a ton of money actually selling to this guy, because he was the decision maker. He had the cash. And so he would just go to Korea and buy a bunch of crap and then go sell it to the guy. And the guy would buy it every time. And he said that it was so bad that he could literally go to Japan and get garbage out of Japan and sell that to the guy, because they would use that. Like, that was worth something in Africa. So in this particular country, right? So maybe he was exaggerating a little bit, but I don't think he was actually. Obviously, that's not the best business model, but it's a funny thing to say. And so they needed things, and they needed somebody they could trust. And this Korean guy was trustworthy. So basically, the problem the African guy had is he wanted to buy stuff, so he would give money to people, and then they would steal it, or they wouldn't be able to fulfill what they promised. And the Korean guy was very reliable, so he would give him money, he would go over, he'd get the stuff, he'd come back, and then the guy would have the stuff, and then he would say, okay, well, I need more stuff, different kind of stuff, and he would buy that. So, not saying you're going to find this opportunity, but I'm just saying, like,
I mean, he never would have found.
If you can do this, Joe, you become a very interesting individual. This is the way I think. Like, I actually think this way. That's why I'm telling you this. Like, I've never heard this from anybody else. This is like Ronin Man, 100% right here. Like I would go to a country with money, with oil, and I would find the barons and make friends with them and find out what they fucking wanted. That's what I would do if I went to Africa.
Yeah. I mean, your friend never would have found that opportunity had he not gone to Africa.
Oh man, the guy ended up managing like I don't know, it was like a $2 billion pipeline project because he got all these connections, you know, and he had some experience in engineering, some project back home, but it wasn't anything like that. Like his whole life is different now. He's not selling goods anymore. He's now like managing this massive project. He has a huge staff. He invited me over. He's like, I got a free place for you to stay. Just come on over. He's like, you know, we'll hook you up with people. And I'm like, no way. I came very close to going to Africa, actually. But so think out of the box. You don't lose anything by going to somewhere like Africa and sniffing around, you know, because I saw the other thing that piqued my interest about Africa was I saw a TV show where they were interviewing these guys. It was like, okay, the picture of this, there's like a 5-star hotel. So there's a pool on top and a bar. And there was all these guys, like kind of normal looking guys, like sitting there drinking these expensive drinks, like Ritz-Carlton type prices, right? And they interviewed them and they said, what do you guys do back home? He says, well, I'm an electrician. The other guy's like, I'm a plumber. And he's like, they don't have that here in Africa. So they need somebody who can train the locals in engineering, in electrician, to be an electrician and to be a plumber. So these guys were making something like $300 an hour to be a fucking plumber in Africa. Now, I don't know if that was a few years ago, so this opportunity might be gone, but these things exist, man. This shit exists in the world. Fuck any dickhead who doesn't think so. He just hasn't traveled. Stuff like this totally exists.
If you just stay in your house.
You could do it for women and fuck them too. Like things exist you can't even imagine. Like you just have to get out there and you have to try. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you just stay in your house every day, you know, just going to work, coming back, watching TV, you know, like a lot of people, you know, right. You're just not going to learn anything. You're not going to. Nothing's ever going to change.
Yeah. Also, if you think like everybody else, like, hey, I'll go to Thailand because Ronin Man's there right now, and you know, I'll just figure out Thailand. I mean, that's great. You know, that's much better than sitting around. I think if you like to travel, but I think also think more like I thought when I was young. You know, I think you're better off.
I mean, I'd say for sure after hearing your kind of stories about, I mean, I've got my eyes on Japan. I mean, possibly China, you know, or, you know, going over there, you know, it's interesting. You know, I'm definitely thinking about it, you know, and I think Japan's becoming more open to foreign workers. So.
Okay. So for Japan, you want different thinking. Okay. So there's no warlords going to buy stuff from you, right? So what you want to do with Japan is the most important thing is the visa. You have to have a visa. Otherwise, it's major problems in Japan, major problems. Visa problems are difficult to understand. Like no one can kind of explain them to you. And you can get really screwed on this kind of stuff. So what you want to do with Japan is the best way is to get a job teaching English with a visa and a house, or a visa and a job, and then you get your house on your own. So if you quit the job, you still have the house, right? If you have the job with the house, then you lose one, you lose both, right? That's what I would do. I'd look online for teaching English jobs. I would look for the best one, watch all the YouTube videos, you know, the one that is most interesting and everything, and then go interview, and then go fly over there, and then get the job, and then once you're there, once you're kind of legally set up in the country, then you can start to look for these more unusual opportunities. Because I have all kinds of friends who did things in Japan. One guy bought a building down in Kyushu with credit cards. He was a low point in Japanese real estate, and I started a real estate group where we used to meet in Starbucks in Hiro, and we would all brainstorm ideas for how to make money in real estate in Japan. And he had probably the best idea is he bought this huge fucking building down in Kyushu, 6 floors or 5 or 6 floors. And he had 5 credit cards, and he maxed them all out and got the cash. And it was a low point in Japanese real estate. And also he bought it at the Keibai, which is Keibai is the Japanese government land auction thing. And he bought it super cheap. And then he fixed it up himself, him and his wife, painted it and everything. And then Now it's like years later. That was probably 16 years ago. Now the place is it's almost like a service apartment place. It's like really high end, and he slowly turned it into a very nice place. And it's next to a school, so it's like wealthy kids go and they stay in there. So there are opportunities in Japan. I have another friend who owns a ramen shop. I have friends who export cars from Japan to Pakistan. Um, I have friends that own restaurants in Japan. I have friends that have all kinds of different unusual businesses in Japan. So, but you start out with a standard boring one. Don't start out trying to do something too radical. You know, get legal, get situated, get safe, and then start to look is my recommendation for Japan.
Yeah. I mean, but yeah, I mean, I'd say I definitely kind of got to go out to some other country and learn. You know, is
Oh, okay.
I
Now,
mean,
if you're going to Japan, you need to have a 4-year degree. Okay. So what you want to do if you're going to Japan is you want to order. Now, this is not legal advice here, and you probably shouldn't do this, but what a lot of people would do in your situation is they would order a fake degree online, uh, and then use that to apply for a job in Japan. And when you're morally, okay, just I'm not going to talk legally. Legally, you should not do this. I don't recommend this. And I have a 4-year degree, so I didn't do this, but I know people that did, and morally it doesn't matter because what they want is they want a native English speaker to talk to them. That's what they're looking for. They want somebody
yeah,
interesting like yourself who has a brain on his shoulders and can talk to them. They've already got the grammar, they've got everything in their minds, and they just need to learn to relax like us on the trampoline, and they need to practice, right? So they're not looking for somebody who's a genius. They're looking for somebody who they can talk to. So it's not like it's going to matter if you had a 4-year degree in any way. So morally, it doesn't matter. It's not like you're doing surgery without practicing or something, or flying an airplane without having training, or running a nuclear plant without knowing what you're doing. You're just talking to people. That's what you're doing as an English teacher in Japan, a low-level English teacher. That's what you do, um, and nobody really cares. You know, nobody really cares. It's not a big deal. Don't tell anybody if somebody on this did do this. Don't tell anybody. And again, I don't recommend it because it's wrong and all that. But that's what a lot of people do, and then that will get you started. And they'll get you where you can like get your
yeah,
visa and stuff like that. And I want to say one thing about Asia that's interesting about people is, believe it or not, what I'm recommending here, if you don't have a degree, is the Asian culture in general. It all comes from Chinese culture, but they don't. And this is what you learn when you live there. They don't care about right and wrong in the same way that we care about right and wrong. Uh, they don't have that same. They don't have the Christianity. Okay, their idea is more like, if it works, it's good. You know, and so if a father has done something really embarrassing, and then you go and tell everybody and he loses his face, that's not good in Japan. Like, that's not good in China. Like, because face is super important. It's complicated. Okay, I can't explain it all in one fucking quick barrage, but just understand that the idea of right and wrong, good and bad, and all that is different in Asia. It really is different. And if you want to survive in Asia, you need to understand that your way of thinking does not work here. It's not even welcome. Your rigid, strict way of thinking is not welcome. So most of the time it's against you, but in this case with the fake degree thing, it's kind of with you because they don't care. As long as you do a good job, your paper looks good, you show up on time, the students love you, you know what I mean? You always do your best, you're better than the other teachers, they will fucking love you, okay? So, and they will appreciate you. And then later on, if they find out like you had a fake degree or something, like, they could care less. Whereas in other countries, like Western countries, they're going to think, well, that was wrong. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, that's
yeah,
wrong. That in Asia, it can be like that. I don't want to make it look like they don't care at all, or it's never like that. But I lived there for, like I said, almost 3 decades, and I can say that this is a big shock to Westerners because they just don't give a damn about right and wrong. Really, it's just, does it work? To them, right and wrong is it's different, right? It's just different. Don't hurt people, Don't, So, it's one of these things that you could do there, if or somebody could do, and it wouldn't be like, it's not the same. It's just not the same. And I can't explain it any more than that, but it's just good to know that there are different cultures, and this is the thing. They believe different things than you, right? So it's like, you're like an idiot if you hold on to every one of your old ideas. You really are. You're like a fucking rigid idiot who will be looked down upon and ridiculed, because they think you're an idiot. They really do. They're like, you can't, you're not flexible. You can't fit in here. I tell you one really interesting story was in China. They had this big loss, a store rule where you couldn't make a big store you couldn't bring a Walmart or a Costco into a city center, right? Because it would compete against the small stores. So Walmart and Costco didn't make stores in China because they said, well, you can't make them downtown, and we need to make ours downtown, and we can't be profitable. So the French company Carrefour said, yeah, whatever. We'll make them downtown. We'll make friends with some local officials, and they made all these stores downtown. Walmart made them out of town. Costco stayed away. Then Walmart started complaining to the government, and I got this secondhand information from the meeting, was that the Walmart guy basically said to the government official, he said, look, the Carrefours are all illegal, and ours are all legal. We followed Chinese culture, and we you have rules, we followed them. We did the right thing. Like, why are we being punished? Like, they have theirs downtown and making a lot more sales. Help us get downtown. Like, why are you not punishing them, and why are you punishing us for following the rules? And the Chinese guys just said, it's complicated. That's all he said. It's complicated. Now, it could have gone the other way. Sometimes it goes the other way in China. You build it in downtown, you bribe somebody, and then later on they fuck you big time, right? Because then that guy loses power and another guy gets in power. But I think what happened was Carrefour was very welcome by the locals, and they needed a place to buy. There was a lot of food scandals going on, and they needed a safe place to buy food, and Carrefour was providing that. And so the government's like, hey, we need Carrefour, like right now, and so they got away with it. So just be aware that things are not what they seem, and be ready, be open, but you got to be it's so complicated because Carrefour could get screwed in the future. Even now, even after that, they could get screwed. But in the end, for what they did until now, it was smart for sure. And they've been there for a long time. They've been there for at least 20 years, maybe more.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd say career-wise for me, I mean, where I'm working now is pretty good. The hours are pretty flexible, and they're just kind of like, as long as I get the work done, no one's really complaining, so I can sleep in and kind of get in late.
Save money.
Yeah, I'm living with my parents right now, and I got about I think over $9,000 in the bank. And it's my
Keep
first
saving.
year out of high school, so
okay. I got a recommendation.
Okay.
I got a recommendation. This worked for me. I did this, and it was beautiful. Actually, it was very fun. Get a long piece of paper or tape a bunch of pieces, like standard 8x11 paper together.
Printing sheet, yeah.
Yeah, and then make a chart, okay, with 0 at the bottom, and then 100,000 at the top. Mm-hmm. And then get a pen, and then tie it to a rope next to that, and put it inside of a closet where no one else can see it, like somewhere where it's not visible to the family. I mean, they could find it if they wanted to, but it's like hidden, And then every time, then color the red up to 9,000. And every time that you make it long enough that, like if you add in, like, say $500, you can see the difference in the red. You know what I mean? Like, you want to feel confident, like accomplishment, right? So don't make it such a short thing that you can't tell the difference between 10 and 15,000 hardly, and then start to, every time that you put money in that account, color it in red. And then next thing you know, you're going to be at 100,000. And when you get $100,000 cash, because what'll happen is you're going to get motivated to get an extra job to finish this chart, because you're going to realize that you can only save so much with your current job. But if you had another job or you did something on the side, you might be able to get there like 3 times or 4 times as fast, which is way more fun. But it's all to your benefit. It's all to your benefit. And then reach your 100,000, and then let me know.
Okay. Sounds interesting. Yeah, I had a friend who, I don't know if it was on Craigslist or something, but he would buy and sell cameras to make money. And I'm like, this guy's doing it. He's making money. Some people are selling cameras real low. He's just buying them and selling them for higher, and I mean, no one's stopping him. So
yeah, there's things like that. There's things like that, and then maybe you could do it too. Some cameras. There's a lot of room in the marketplace for things. Find something that can make some extra cash, and then sometimes it's pretty easy too. It doesn't have to be painful, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say a lot of kids. I mean, throughout high school, I would hear a lot of kids who are working jobs, and they're like, I only got $20 in my wallet. I only got $50 in my wallet. And, as soon as they get money, they just spend it.
Right.
And I was even talking with my dad, and he's like, kids who would have as much money as you have now, they just go out and buy a new truck, or or a new car of some sort, some kind of fancy or cool looking car. And I mean, the car I have, it's a real old, small pickup truck. I think it's almost as old as I am. It's like
right.
And it's like, and I love it to death. I'd be disappointed if I lost it. I mean, it's I don't know if it was like roughly $2,000 car, and I just absolutely love it. And I see no reason to get a new car.
Right. When I was saving money for that 100,000, my sister lived in Tokyo too at the time, right? And my sister's insanely wealthy, and so when she would want to go to dinner, I realized that dinner, because the other thing I did besides 100,000, one thing I highly recommend you do too, is get a notebook or an app, and then every time that you spend even 1 penny, write it down. And then after like a month, go back and look at where your money's going. And you will be amazed at the vision you have when you see where your money's going. Like I didn't think this was going to help me, because I read this in The Wealthy Barber, the book The Wealthy Barber. And I was like, I read the 2 books, The Richest Man in Babylon and The Wealthy Barber. I read them over and over and over and over. And then I thought to myself, this is not going to work for me because I'm so cheap that I won't learn anything, from this thing. But I did it anyway. I wrote down every penny, and it was easier than I thought it would be to do. And it was kind of fun. Like I had it in my back pocket, I just pulled it out, wrote in it, right? And what happened was at the end of the month, I realized that, to my utter astonishment, my biggest expense was going out to dinner and lunch and coffee with people after AA meetings. Because what happened is, I didn't realize it at the time. I couldn't see it, But what was happening was we'd have a meeting, right? And it would cost $1 to go to the meeting. And then after the meeting, there'd be a group that would go out, to eat or coffee. And I didn't really think about it, but they were going to places that I don't like to go to, like very kind of hoity-toity places, It was like, it would end up being like $20, $30, And
you just said, hey, does anyone want to go pick up some girls or something? And you just left because you were done with it.
Oh yeah. Well, the first thing I said was, does anybody want to go to the park and drink a can of coffee? Because that costs $1.
Yeah.
And what I realized, I mentioned this in a video, I didn't remember that. But what I realized was that, one, it was kind of like the whole thing was amazing. Like when you learn about yourself, you think you're not going to learn anything, but you will be utterly shocked with how much there is to learn, And the one thing I learned is like once I realized it, once I saw the expense, it was killing me. Like I could have gone twice to Thailand a year for vacation on the money I was spending on this stupid shit. And then I realized, like, I went to this coffee, like I did it one more time after I saw the expense, and I looked at the women. It was all women. It was all like middle-aged women. They're all severely overweight. They were all didn't care about me at all. I was not even really welcome in the group that much. You know what I mean? And like, it wasn't fun to be there. And we were going to hoity-toity places, and like the whole thing sucked. Really, I couldn't believe. Looking back, I can't believe I did it for so long. But it was just a kind of mindless thing. I just started doing it, you know. And then, so when I kind of looked at it from the outside, I was like, wait, I'm doing something I hate doing, going to places I don't want to go to, spending money I don't want to spend, having conversations I don't want to have. And when I took control, it wasn't just the money. It was a total energy for me, because I was like, fuck, I want to hang out with dudes, you know? I love saving money, and I want to hang out with dudes, and I want to think of things that are out of the box because I enjoy that, you know? And sitting in the park, we laughed our asses off. We talked way dirtier, because in the restaurant, you can only talk so dirty, right?
Yeah.
I was young, and we used to talk all about chicks and stuff and pussy and everything, right? So it was fun to talk, you know, like in the park, you could talk however you wanted. No one was there. And it was just more manly. Sometimes we climbed the bars and did pull-up contests, and fuck, it was completely like a very energizing thing for me. So that's why I recommend writing everything down, because there might be something in your life that you can't even imagine, but actually is an enormous waste, and also wasted opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, for me, you know, even here in America, like spending $15 or $20 on a nice meal, like I think for my birthday, when my family and I went out, it's like we didn't go to some restaurant where we were dropping $50 per person, or like 100, or you know, higher. Yeah, it's a nice meal. It's a treat. We don't go out often, so it's like, you know, 15 to 20 per person, and then, you know, you don't need to be extravagant to get, you know, a good meal. And that, like, you know, that's maybe like once a month, not even that we do something like that. And I'd say, like, even it's like, you know, I went to the store and I bought some beans and rice, and it's like, so like $1 for a can of beans,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
it's like I get like 6+ servings of, so I got like a bowl of rice and a bowl of beans, and I couldn't fit it all in one bowl, so I mixed them together and I did this huge bowl of rice and beans. And it cost me like $2.
Well, rice
And
and beans together creates a perfect protein. You need both
yeah,
of them.
yeah, because they have the, you know, amino acids that you need,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So anytime I'm like, you know, get beans and rice together, and you get the protein. So yeah, and that's why I did it. I'm like, you know, just get this bowl of beans and rice, and you know, that's all I need, and it's just so cheap. And
It's
you have
beautiful.
these people
You know what you should
going
add
out
to
to,
that is cans of fish. Cans of fish
okay,
are like sardines. You know, you can get them for sometimes under $1. You know, what I
okay,
do. Here's what I do. I look for the fish. I try all the different cans of fish. I go to the 99-cent store or whatever, and I'll look at all the cans of fish. I'll buy them all. I'll check them all out. As long as they're not too expensive. I don't want some special Norwegian hand job fish, but I just want to get some healthy like fish. That the reason why cans of fish are so good is because the bones, they cook the bones into the fish, so you get the calcium. It's not just the fish meat, and you also get the head, and you get all of the guts and everything. All comes in there, and it tastes good. It tastes good. Cans of fish are great. And the thing you don't want is there's a chemical they use, and I can't remember right now. They use when they can food, and it's not good for you at all. So what I always do is, let's say it's a tomato sauce or whatever, I'll put it under the tap, and I'll completely rinse all the sauce out,
oh
and
yeah,
then I'll eat the fish. And what I find is that the sauce is already baked into the fish. This is the flavor, so it actually tastes great when you wash it off, and it doesn't taste any better with the sauce. In fact, it tastes worse actually, because it's just so much salt and sugar and garbage. So I wash it
oh yeah,
off, and then I eat the fish, and that will give you, if you add that to your beans and rice thing, that will give you a lot more for another dollar or two. And you'll be eating better than the fucking guys spending $20 at some bullshit Fridays or something.
yeah, for sure. And I've also done some. I saw your video on, I can't remember, keto cooking or something. Uh, But yeah, I've gone out, we've got some bell peppers, mushrooms, beets, that kind
Right.
of stuff, and
Right.
I just chopped it up. I didn't think too much about chopping it up, just like you said. I just cut it into fourths or something so it
Yeah.
cooks faster, and just put it on for 7 minutes. Went over and mixed it. 7 more minutes. Just about 15 minutes total. Just
Mm.
heat up. It's
That's
not.
beautiful. That is, fuck, you are on the right road, my friend. That is awesome, man. Saving money, eating right, doing, figuring things out, taking care of yourself, not having somebody else support you, and making good decisions. And also you have your eye on the ball of like the world's fucking exciting place, and you want to get out there and see more of it. I
Yeah.
think that sounds like really, really good. It sounds great. And you don't have to wait to get 100,000, but if you have a goal like that, you're going to get up there fast, a lot faster than you think,
I
because you
mean,
have to be creative about it.
it's like I don't know how, but if I was dead motivated, it's like I could get it in 1 or 2 years, almost.
Wow.
I'd almost say easily. It's like if I really tried, if I was really that motivated, it's
Well,
like
what will
I know I
happen is
could do it.
you will get motivated if you do this, man. It's, swear to God, it gets really exciting. Like I got to the point where I would have much more fun saving a dollar than I would spending it, because I knew I was going to have another dollar to put on my chart. I swear
Mhm.
to God, I swear to God, I'm not kidding. I totally got into that mindset, and it was fun, man. It was fun. And I got all my friends into it too. We all saved a ton of money. It was like all my friends in Tokyo that I was hanging out with, Jeff Brown and a bunch of other guys, Steve, and we all did it, and it was great. Aaron, we were all doing it. And it was fucking fun, man. It was fun. And then we would go camping on the weekends. I had a car. I had like an old shitty car, like a BMW, and then we would just pile in my car, bring tents, camp illegally on the beach, and laugh our asses off, try to bone chicks, surf, and do that until like Monday morning. So we'd miss the traffic coming back, and then just get up at like 4 in the morning and then drive back on Monday, like all suntanned and fucking laughing all weekend and feeling great. And then everybody else is like miserable. They spent all their money on the weekend. They spent it with their girlfriend, and they waited in like 8 hours of traffic on the way home.
Yeah,
And
they just live for the weekend, and that's their life.
yeah, yeah. And we didn't even spend any money at all. Like we shared everything, and we would buy like fresh vegetables and just eat them. And somebody would like, yeah, cans of fish, just kind of stuff like we're talking about. And it was fucking hilarious, man. It was absolutely very, very male bonding too, and fun too. And I'd come home and like I'd tell some girl what we did, and she'd be all, I don't know, man. Girls, if you're excited, they get excited too. You know what I mean? Like if you want to bone chicks in the future, which I don't think it's a bad thing. I think that your enthusiasm and your intelligence for life will fire some girls up. You don't need to do shit to get laid. Like some girls will just come to you because you're having a good time and you're doing your thing. And if they don't come, it doesn't matter either. But you'll find that if you, most things that people do in life is to get something, but they don't even realize they don't even have to do it anyway. They could do something totally different, just be themselves and enjoy their lives. And there'll be people that will just come to them. And these are the real people, right? These are the people who really like them, who are really interested in them, who really think they're cool, right? Instead of
Yeah.
like this fake thing where it's like painful, expensive, and fake. PEF.
Oh yeah, I heard you talking about the trucks, the guys with trucks in America, and just how fake that is.
Oh my God.
And
Um,
I commented, but like all these guys, at all the major. I'm not looking for a new car, but I just drive by and look at what they have on, because it's on like a main highway or something, and they all have extended cabs, and I'm like, like I wonder if there's a truck with like a large flatbed in the back,
oh, that was your
you know,
comment.
with
Okay, yeah, I
extended.
remember that comment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I was like, I haven't seen any new trucks with you know, large beds. Because all these guys are getting extended cabs. I'm like, you know, none of these guys are actually, using trucks as they're supposed to be. I mean, granted, like they might just happen to like once a year move a refrigerator around or something, right? But I mean, the rest of the time they're getting incredibly bad gas mileage. If anything, it should be like one of your friends has a truck, and it's like, hey, can I borrow your truck? Sure thing. But it's
Totally.
like but it's like, why would you want to get, horrible gas mileage? And even in high school, there's, some kids that just have rich parents. Yeah, you could tell, they just buy the trucks and then they'd, hop them up on wheels, and you know, it's just so obvious. It's painfully obvious what they're trying to do.
Well, everybody sees it too. It's so
Yeah,
obvious, Joe.
yeah,
It's so obvious. And, like I was saying, like when I was really in this mode, I remember I was 30 and I was just having a great time with my life, like all the time. Like I was fucking laughing all the time with my friends. And I had money in the bank and I was making money on stocks. And then I got a job in headhunting and I was making money with that. I mean, I was just fucking laughing at life, like literally laughing. And it was very attractive to women too. I remember that time. I had this girl I had a bunch of girls, but one of them was like 18 and she was absolutely in love with me, like no doubt about it. And she would do anything like I wanted to do. So like the cans of fish she would eat with me on the side of the road. We would have sex in all kinds of weird places and stuff. And she was totally into the whole thing. And she was such a good girl. I remember one time I said to her, because I took her to India. I went traveling. I bought a motorcycle. I drove around India for like 4 months. And it was fucking awesome. Brought my surfboard and I brought a couple of her and then another girl came and we all had a great time. And I said to her, she was like doing everything I wanted. I said, you're so in love with me. You would probably, if I told you tomorrow, let's go beg on the streets of India. I'm going to not even bring my wallet. I'm just going to beg on the streets. But I'm going to leave all my other girls. Would you come with me? She said, I would absolutely go right now. So let's go beg on the streets, And the thing is, I attracted this girl who never wanted my money. She was great in bed. She was always fun. She was up for eating cans of fish and cabbage and fucking carrots and sleeping in illegal campsites. And you know what I mean? She was up for everything. And the reason why I found her is because I did not give a fuck. And I was living an exciting, interesting life in my own life. And I didn't care. And that was attractive to certain girls. And if most guys, like especially MGTOW niche, their experience with women is really fucked because they don't really like they acted like a totally fake person, right? Then they attracted a fake girl, right? Who didn't really like the real them, right?
yeah.
And then they were disappointed that it wasn't the real them. Like they didn't like care about the real them, right? So the thing is if you are yourself and you don't give a fuck and you're not trying to be anybody else and you don't ever give anything else. That girl, I was with her for 10 years before I told her she had to go get married. She did because she wanted to get married. And she has 2 kids now. And what was I going to say? Fuck, I can't remember what I was going to say. Oh yeah. I had a rule with her. I never gave her, back then I didn't give any girls more than a $10 gift. That was it. So like their birthday was like a $10 chocolates or something. Right. And I never, ever, ever bought them anything expensive. From the first date, we went to the park and some girls didn't like it and they left, but the ones that stayed were much more good. So you also have responsibility for the people you attract in your life, right? So a lot of guys in MGTOW niche, there's so much to learn in life, right? I'm not saying they're wrong or anything, but they did it wrong and then they blamed it on the women only. But part of life is just taking responsibility and realizing that you have the biggest part in your life is you, And if you, when I look at guys, they take a girl on it, like say the guy's got a regular job, right? He works a fucking whatever. And then he invites a girl on a date. He takes her out to steak and fucking lobster the first night, right? It's like,
well, she's going to expect that just about every.
Well, yeah. What do you want? Like, if I say to you, I say, Joe, do you want to go in my private jet? And you're going to say, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah. And then I'm going to say, do you want to go on my yacht? You say, yeah, And then,
oh, yeah.
I'm basically attracting people who are just gold digging people around me, right? So whether it's guys or girls, is when you get in touch with your true self and you have no shame about it. You don't mind that people don't like you. Some people. You actually like it because you realize that everybody's not going to like you anyway. It's impossible, right?
Yeah.
But if you be yourself and you really are just confident and optimistic and enjoying your life, and at the same time, you're not trying to change anybody. You're not trying to make somebody do something that doesn't want to do it, right? You're just being there. You're being yourself and you're unique. You will attract people that are cool with that. That girl, I never gave her more than a $10 present. That's it. The biggest thing she has is like a fucking little fucking teddy bear that cost me like $1. I bought like 100 of them. I gave them to all the girls. I like these little teddy bears in this little like I love you bag and stuff. It was really cute. I got them. They were like some kind of clearance or something. The only thing is I tended to give the same girl twice. The next year I gave them the same teddy bear. And they were bummed out, so I stopped doing that. But it worked for a long time because they weren't coming to me for money. You know, they weren't. You know, and so I think whether it's guys or girls or whatever the fuck, is don't be fake and find out who you are and present that to people. And then when people don't like that, you can realize they're being honest. Okay, that's the one thing. At least they're being honest, right? They're telling you what they want. That's fine. Everybody wants different things in life, right? That's okay, right? No harm, no foul, right? They want to have a nice steak. That's fine. You know, and then that's totally great. They should find a nice person who wants to buy them a steak, and somebody who's got the money, who enjoys going to steak restaurants, who cares if it's medium rare, whatever the fuck, different kinds of cooking there is, you know, and that they can have a good life together with that person, right? But for me, you know, I think it's a big waste of money, and I don't like waiters, and I hate tipping, and I don't like the fucking whole thing, you know. I prefer to do more exciting stuff, and to me it's exciting, you know, and to take that money and go to Africa and try to find a warlord or something, you know. So I think that don't blame your problems that you created on other people. That you create your own problems, and you attract people in your life by how you tell them you are and how you act. So life can be a lot less complicated if you know this.
Yeah, I mean, I remember. I think it was like middle school, like 6th or 7th grade. Um, I was going to. I think a lot of people at my elementary school, they weren't going to this school, so like I didn't know anyone there, and whatever lunch I had, uh, I just didn't know anyone, so I sat alone at lunch, and I remember thinking like, man, people must think like I'm an idiot, or you know, I'm like an outcast or something, because I'm sitting alone and I don't have any friends.
Yeah.
And I think I eventually found some kind of like weird group of oddities to kind of sit at, but you know, but they didn't really become my friends or anything, you know. And then during high school, I also sat alone at lunch, but I remember thinking like I'm like, you know, I don't care, and I know other people don't care, so you know, or like I sat alone. I mean, I sat alone at lunch for most of high school. Not to say I did make kind of a friend or two. Actually, the most interesting person I met in high school, he was a exchange student from Switzerland. So, you know, I mean, he seems to be the only guy there that had a brain.
Yeah.
That I could talk to. And I mean, I was talking with him, and I was like, like, you know, why do we pay for TV yet we still watch ads? Like, we're paying to watch ads or something. And he's like, wow, you know, like I never thought of that. And
right. And that's great. You know, I can tell you this, that life gets better as you get older with that kind of stuff. You know, is most people are so nervous when they're young. They're just so fake with the way they're acting, and they're making fake friends who are going to fuck them over in the future, you know? So
yeah,
you know, being yourself, and like, it totally reminded me of high school for me. Cause I had a split personality. Okay. I didn't realize it, but I was a popular kid. I actually didn't even know I was a popular kid until somebody told me recently. They said, you were with the popular kids. I'm like, was I? Like, I felt like I was totally the outcast. They're like, no. But what the truth was, I had two different personalities. I had one, I was playing volleyball and surfing and stuff, and I had like the popular friends. But then I also had another group of friends who, one guy was like you, he always sat alone. His name was Aryan. And he wore an Indian vest with like feathers and stuff and no shirt underneath. Like his chest out basically. And this other guy became an astrophysicist, and Rex and Aryan would kind of hang out together. And they both played Dungeons and Dragons. And I started sitting with them, and we ended up being one of the most meaningful relationships in high school. On the weekends, we would do our hardcore camping, and I had many situations crazy with them, with snakes and everything, because we didn't camp in campsites. We would go like with a compass and no path for like 4 days in the desert with no water. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we
these
had
weren't
all
the guys.
Those were the guys,
Oh,
yeah. And then the guys who didn't give me the water in the one situation, right?
yeah.
But I forgive them for that because I had a lot of good experiences with them, and they were really, really fucking smart. Those guys, very intelligent, and I gained a lot from being with them. I think I probably gained more from them than I did my other friends. So I can relate. I know what you're talking about. Like I don't think there's any. Yeah, no, life gets better. You know, the more honest you are with yourself, you're going to start attracting people that are like you, and the more you'll get more confident where you'll tell people who you are right off the bat. And then people find it very refreshing when somebody knows who they are and it's unique and they tell you. They're not ashamed of it, you know? So you'll get better at that. And so you'll start to find more people like yourself. That's what Ronin Man is for me. I'm putting out myself, my real self out there. And then I'm attracting people who like that real self, who think like that. And so it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You know, I don't have to be fake anymore. You know what I mean? There's no benefit. Just 24/7 being myself. And if someone doesn't like it, it's like, okay, you know, that's cool, you know? So I would say, yeah, start putting yourself out there more too when you're talking to people, like when you meet them right away, just like tell them who you are, you know? You like to be alone or whatever, you know, whatever it is, they know what the fuck it is. I doubt you like to be alone, to be honest, but whatever it is that you like.
Yeah. No, for sure. I like hanging out with other people, and when I was younger, I would have some close friends that I would basically hang out with all the time, and I think I moved away from them at around 8th grade, and
Oh, fuck, that's a
I'm
bad time to move away.
yeah, it's right before going into high school. I'm borderline as to I don't know if like if they had pressured me to, and I'll go ahead and say right now, like I'm 20, and I've had alcohol, and and it's not a big deal. I mean, I just asked my dad. I'm like, hey, what's alcohol? I'm kind of curious, and he's like, and I think I was probably, oh yeah, I was like 18 at the time, and he's like, oh, if you're curious, you can try it out, and so I did. I think I drank for about 1 year. I only drank like once on the weekends, on like Friday or Saturday, because I had no school the next day. So I was very smart about it, and I was like, like it's okay, it's all right. But yeah, at the start of this year, it was a week into this year, I was just kind of like, like I'd watch a video online, and like if you're drinking alcohol can inhibit your recovery, and I was kind of like, yeah, I know alcohol is not good for me, so I mean, I'm just done. Maybe when I'm 21, I might drink to celebrate or something. But I was like, I'm good. I just let go. I was like, wasn't addicted to it or anything, and I was like, cool. But yeah, I was wondering, like, I was still with my friends, and at the time I lived in Colorado, so uh, I think that, and they were one of the first states to legalize weed. And I'll say this now, like, I'm not super against weed or marijuana or anything right now. But I was wondering, I'm kind of thinking like, if I'd stayed with them, like, would have I done it? Maybe or something. And I guess there could be a slight chance I might have gotten addicted to it or something, and
Yeah.
my life would be completely different. I hadn't moved away
Well,
from it.
live and learn and experiment, and it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And well, one thing you might want to try is mushrooms, man. Mushrooms are awesome.
Sorry.
If you do it, I'd highly recommend doing it in a very safe place, and like in a room, kind of a safe room, that feels comfortable to you, and have somebody
Yeah,
there who can kind of watch you.
yeah.
Just kind of like keep an eye on you, just kind of come in once in a while, look at you. And then I recommend you record it. So get at least an audio recording of your voice. And then it's called a hero's dose, 7 grams. And then find yourself in a very comfortable place and just lay on the bed and then just eat the mushrooms. And then it could be quite interesting.
Um, yeah. I mean, it sounds interesting, but I mean, like, I'm not in a situation where like I'm in a need to escape from like reality or anything.
Oh,
Or
no, 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 no. I'm not talking about
yeah,
that. I'm not talking about
yeah,
escape from reality. No, no, no. I don't recommend drugs at all. No, the mushrooms are a inner trip. And when I would take mushrooms, it wouldn't be to get high at all. The purpose of mushrooms, when I was in a state where I was trying to figure something out about my life, where I was at some of a crossroads, and I was trying to kind of chart my course and figure out who I was again, So that was what I used that for. It's not something you ever have to do again. It's just like something that can kind of open your mind in a way that something else can. And I can't recommend it because obviously people can get into problems and people get injured and stuff. And I don't recommend anybody does any drugs. But mushrooms are, to me, they're different than drugs. They're a very different experience, and they can be quite a beautiful thing. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about being open-minded, and and I'll say, like, here in America, like, I don't know the numbers, but we have, like, I could be wrong, but it's like 2/3 of the world's prisoners or something, even though we only have, I don't know what percent of the population, but
it's
but
the prison system is messed up in this.
Yeah, but people get locked up for victimless crimes, and it's like, it's some guy smokes marijuana, and it's like he didn't hurt anyone.
I know it's so lame. It's like a trigger. It's what is it called? Trigger. What is it called? Hair trigger. Like the cops are always ready to arrest you for something. I really don't like that about the U.S. and in Japan, for the same crime, you're 38 times more likely to go to prison in America than you are in Japan for the same crime. And most people in prison are men, so it really targets us. So yeah, no, I don't. That's one thing I really don't agree with. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's good for the population. I think it's good to avoid those kind of institutions all the time, forever, because once you get into them, you become normal, and it becomes part of your life. So don't even get near them. Basically, don't ever go. Don't ever do anything that gets you there. Let it be somebody else's life.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I'd say, from what I heard, in the same building that I'm working at right now, there's another guy, and I mean, I'm saying this with a bit of, like, confidence that, this guy's, he's curing cancer. I mean, there have been people that are like stage 4 cancer, and he's got them almost completely reversed, and he's talking about all the things that are good for you, and I think he said even, marijuana is good for you and it'll help you. So, and I mean,
I'm not such a big fan of marijuana or drinking, but I am a fan of mushrooms, actually. But yeah.
Well, and this is, I'm kind of moving apart from drugs here, but I mean, like, like cancer could be cured just by eating healthy, by like completely cutting sugar out of your diet. And
I don't eat sugar. I stopped eating sugar and white flour, bread, rice. Probably how many years ago? God, it's been a long time. Over 10 years. And I think that's been the biggest thing for me. The only thing I like chocolate, so I will have chocolate usually once a day or twice. And that has sugar in it, but I don't have sugar-free chocolate. But other than that, no sugar.
Yeah, I've been staying, it's I can't remember where I heard it, but just like white rice, it's bad, it's been bleached or whatever. Brown rice is good, so I just I choose brown rice when I can.
Right.
That's what I buy.
Right. Oatmeal's good too. Oatmeal's like a raw oatmeal kind of thing, and then I don't even cook it. I'll just like put it in my mouth with some water, let it sit there for a second, and then it gets nice and soft. No problem.
Oh yeah, I did buy some oats, and I think I was just eating them raw or something, or I think I tried mixing them with like peanut butter or something.
Okay.
Too.
I just take a mouthful. I'll just say that's what I did this morning. I just take a mouthful, and then I'll take a mouthful of water together, let it sit there for a few seconds, and it'll be not the quick oats. I get the more rougher oats, and then it'll be fine, And then sometimes if I have like a kind of a steel rolled, very difficult to digest oats, then I might take a cup of oats and then put some milk in there or something, let it sit there for like 5 to 10 minutes, and then it's going to be soft enough to eat. No problem.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give that a try for sure.
Yeah, it feels good too. You'll feel like your blood sugar will feel good. You won't feel this like big boost, but you'll have this energy, which carbohydrates give you an energy. So yeah, it sounds good, man. Sounds good. All right, cool. Well, look, if I hear anything in Japan, I will let you know.
Uh,
If you're serious about going to Japan soon, or when you're serious, let me know, and I will hook you up with somebody there. I have a good friend, Canadian lawyer in Japan. He can help to show you the way.
okay. I mean, I'm interested in it. You know, I'm looking at it, but I'm not like super dedicated to it right
Right,
now. But
right.
you know, I'm definitely interested. I'm looking at it. You know, at all those countries and all the other countries.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, I mean, given the opportunity, same thing with kind of jobs right now. Like, you know, I have no clue what I could be doing next year. I mean, if I got some opportunity to go mine gold in Alaska, sure, I'd go do that for a few years. I mean, at least a year or two. I mean, I'd see how it goes. It would definitely be an interesting learning experience for sure. I
Well, then
mean,
in that case, if you're open, I would go ahead and start searching online for job, English teaching jobs in Japan, and send out your resume. Um, you can't lose by contacting them, and then
yeah.
see what they say, see what the response is.
I mean, would I have to know a lot of Japanese to?
You don't need any Japanese to teach English. They don't
Any at
want you to
all?
speak Japanese.
Oh. So all the better that I don't
What's
even
that?
know any. It's all the better that I don't even know any
Yeah, they
aside
want.
from like a
Here's
few
what they
words
want.
or
They want a
something.
fresh, energetic young person who's going to be,
Ronin.
want to talk to them, in English. That's what they want. They want like a go-getter, optimistic, fresh young person, and that's what you are. So you're perfect.
Oh, I'm sorry. Say that again. You cut out.
Well, it's English conversation, right? Like I said before, it's not. You're not teaching grammar. You're not teaching them how to write a novel. They have the ideas in their mind. They have they studied grammar and stuff. Now what they want is somebody who can talk to them, and who can be interesting and make them want to talk.
Oh, yeah. Like as a English tutor or
As an English to conversation teacher,
oh, okay, yeah.
that's the
As a
job. That's the job you would get.
conversation teacher.
Yeah,
Okay.
English teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That yeah. That sounds interesting. Yeah,
yeah, and
for
that's what they
sure.
want. They don't want anybody who's like. They don't want somebody who's like a PhD. They don't want somebody who speaks Japanese. They don't want somebody serious. They need somebody that makes them feel comfortable and somebody they can talk to and they can practice with.
Yeah, I mean,
That's the
for sure.
mode they're in. They've already finished school. They've already done the hard work of studying. Now they need to use it. And they're looking for somebody who's energetic and fun to talk to, and it's a
Yeah,
native speaker that can talk to them. Right? That's what they want.
yeah. I mean, you can just talk about so much stuff for a really long time. I mean, like I could. I mean, I guess I kind of give you my whole deal on what I think about college, but other people can add to it. Actually, in our company, we have a intern from China right now. She's uh I can't remember what she's majoring in. It's close. It sounds like chemistry, but it's not chemistry. It's like bioengineering or something. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, I was talking with her, and I think her father paid for her tuition. But I was like, well, don't you have any friends that have been talking about their debt? She's like, oh, yeah, I've had some friends that have been talking about my debt, and I don't think or I think she's coming close to the end of her degree, but where she's interning, we were just having her mop floors, and I was like, "You came all the way to America to mop floors?" And she thought that was pretty funny. So, but it's like, I don't know if she said she was going to get a job in what she had majored in, but she's like, the experience was good, so you know. But I'm like, yeah, it still kind of seems like a waste to me that you got a degree and you're not going to get a job that uses that. So, but I mean, for her, her, her father's paying, so I guess it doesn't hurt her as much.
You never know what her real situation is. So I wouldn't worry about it. Yeah. And she might have a wealthy family actually, or you never know.
Yeah, yeah,
You never know with these exchange students.
yeah. All right,
So
and we had like another guy from India who interned for a short amount of time. Um, this guy was one of the, our, he's pretty crazy. Apparently he only slept like, or I can't remember what he said. Like he didn't sleep at all, and like he would only sleep if he had nothing to do. If he got bored, I was like, no, that's pretty crazy because he was just so busy all the time. He's like between work and school. I think he was getting his MBA, so
Yeah.
but he'd come all the way from India,
Huh.
and he,
As all
he
these
was saying,
exchange students are the most interesting people to me too, because they come from different backgrounds, and so you learn a lot from them. They have different life skills too. But okay, well, look, let's cut it off there. And do you mind if I post this? I think this has been quite interesting. Do you mind if I
uh,
post this on the channel, or do
yeah,
you not want me to?
for sure. Yeah, you could post it on the channel.
Okay, yeah, I'll go ahead
It's
and do
all
that.
good.
Yeah, I think it's going to be beneficial for guys listening, because a lot of stuff here, actually, a lot of good stuff. So, all right, cool.
I had a few questions about the summit. If
Oh,
uh,
really? You're thinking of coming? Okay, what's it? Well, yeah,
yeah,
hit me.
um, I mean, so regardless of I've got about like 9 to 10,000 in the bank. And I was thinking like like I could spend a few thousand on art, not a few thousand. Well, I was thinking like I could maybe have like 1,000 for kind of spending cash, and I could get a hotel. Or I mean, I know you'd mentioned there were some friends that just had some houses I could crash at, and I was like,
Yeah, there's a
uh,
guy, Frederick, who's already offered his house, and he just registered for the convention last night, so he's definitely on board. I can hook you up with him and stay in his house.
yeah.
Um, and
I mean, I'm always like, I mean, like, I'm trying to save money, but I don't know if I should save the house for some other guy. I'm,
no, why not do it? Because the thing is when you stay in someone's house, you learn a lot too. Because he's a Thailand guy too. He's going to give you information about Thailand, which is useful for you. When you stay in a hotel, you don't meet anything, you don't learn anything.
yeah,
So you kind of win
yeah,
both ways. And also his area is nearby here, so it's not like you're going to spend a lot of time traveling.
for sure. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, yep, sounds cool. Yeah,
Okay. If you're into it and you want to register, I'll go ahead and I'll send you his email, and then I'll tell him that you'll be the first guy to stay at his house. So
cool. Yeah,
yeah.
thanks.
Well, that's awesome. Then we'll be meeting in person then in September.
Yeah, it's 21 to the 23rd.
Yep. Yep. And then just get your ticket as long as you can. Stay
All
longer.
right, I've been thinking about staying 1 to 2 weeks.
Okay, because
Seems like
you'll be jet lagged for a whole week. So get as long as you can is my advice.
okay. I was thinking about coming like kind of the week before, and then
Right.
maybe
That's
if I
good.
can if I can get the week after too.
Okay, and then if Frederick, I don't know how long he'll leave his house open, but if his house is not open, one, I'll ask around my friends, and if not, I'll find a really cheap place that you can stay, like really cheap, where you can,
Sure.
you got your own place, and
Um,
it's convenient and it's insanely cheap. There's there's
how much?
there's places over by Kaosan, which is not that convenient, but they're less than $10 a night. I heard.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, I could spend, if I was only staying like 8 days, like I could spend, 40, maybe $80. But I'm like, like since I have the money, but I'm like, it's kind of
No,
being wasteful and
no,
kind of going
no.
against me trying to save money.
Yeah, no, 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 no. Now you want to do it as cheap as possible, your place to stay, because there's no benefit anyway. Like the benefit is when you go to a museum, when you take a boat, when you eat food. Sleeping when you're asleep. I don't understand people like how much can you enjoy your hotel room when you're fucking asleep? Like, does it matter when you're asleep if you're on a bed or on a fucking palace? You know, a mattress or a palace. I
Yeah.
don't think it matters when you're asleep. And when you visit Thailand, the last thing you want to do is sit in the fucking house anyway.
Yeah.
Every day, as soon as you wake up, you're going to want to get out of the house. And when you get home, you fucking go to sleep.
Yeah. I mean, I went to like an organic grocery store today, and I was looking at the prices of stuff. I'm like, you know, $5 for this, like 12 ounces of milk or something, like, a super minuscule amount. I'm
No
like,
meaning, yeah.
yeah, it's like, versus, I can head to some other stores, that are just a block or two away and, just get other stuff that's super cheap and, basically the same. And like you said, underground, overground for eating and whatnot. Anyway,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I don't want to get too off topic.
No, it's good though. I like the fact that you're focused on food. When you come to Thailand, I'm gonna hook you up with all the cheap good food because I'm a total pro at that here. Like you will be getting food that is 100 times better than the other guys, and so fucking cheap, so cheap and convenient too. Like I've absolutely nailed that down to it's like a diamond. I got it down to a diamond for every meal, for whatever it is, to keep the balance going and the lowest possible price.
I mean, it sounds good. My mouth's almost watering thinking
Oh,
about it.
you're gonna be
No,
stoked. Yeah, you're gonna be
I
stoked.
I, I haven't even seen the food.
Thai food is great. Yeah, Thai food is awesome. Yeah. And the
Yeah,
amount of fruits and cheap food and healthy and fresh. And if you know what you're doing, this place is great. If you're an idiot, like most people when they get here, they go spend like fucking $20 on a hamburger, and it's like total joke. It doesn't even taste good. Yeah, so I'll definitely guide you on that one. So remind me when you come to from the beginning to get you in the right path with food here.
yeah. I'm a little worried about my family. Or like I mentioned to a friend, you know, like I'm like, I'm going to Bangkok next month, and he's like, what? And I'm like, why are you going? And I'm like, and
They have no
like
idea. They're going to be like
yeah,
that the rest of their lives. People, I have friends that
and
never traveled, and I see them now, and they'll say something like, because I grew up in part of most of Southern California, and they'll be like, "Why would anybody leave here? This is the best place in the world, and it is a nice place. But it's like they don't understand that there's variety is fucking valuable, man. It's like so valuable for your mind. You get so stale in the same place, no matter how good it is.
yeah, and I'm a little kind of off about I'm gonna tell. I mean, mainly my parents a little. They might kind of be questioning me a little. Like why are you going? And I haven't been like it's not like I've come up to them and been like hey, I'm MGTOW, and you
No, no,
know
don't tell
it,
me that. There's no
and
point.
and if I was going to and if even if I was going to do that, it's like I'd be like, hey, some of these guys are maybe a little radical, and well, it's not exactly like that, and
No, 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 no. Don't do any of that. Just say that you're going to Thailand, and that you let's see, what is it? You could tell them, yeah, you met some people online who live there, and you're gonna go, and you heard it's pretty easy, and Thailand, Bangkok is the number one tourist destination in the world right now, more than London. So it's got a very established infrastructure. It's very easy to get around. You don't need to like negotiate with taxis. You can take a subway. It's very safe. The food is very good. The weather is always pretty much the same. It's an easy place to visit. It's cheap. It's friendly. So yeah, no, it's a good place. It's a very good starter place to go in Asia. Is Thailand. So it's one of the easiest places to visit in the whole world.
yeah,
That's why I'm doing the convention here. See, if this place was difficult, I wouldn't do it. Like in Tokyo, it's quite difficult to travel around Tokyo if you're not fluent in Japanese. It's actually can be a pain in the ass.
yeah,
Here, you don't need any Thai. It's no problem. You get your phone and you're good. You don't need anything else.
yeah. Yeah, I even looked up at some kind of rock climbing places or like indoor climbing gyms, because I probably want to go climbing when I'm there.
Oh,
And
there's so
there's
much
not
to do here. There's so
yeah,
much to do.
yeah,
You're gonna have a
for
great
sure.
time, and you get a SIM card when you get here. You get a tourist SIM card. It doesn't cost much, and then you're good. Fucking good.
Is there any amount like should I when I like amount of like money I should bring, or like should I convert like $100 to
I,
like
I I would plan on. Let's see. If plan
one
on
to two weeks?
plan on something like having like $60 a day spending money, including hotel and everything. Um, you won't spend it all probably, but just in case, you have like $60 a day. Um,
60 a day.
yeah, and then your debit card, your bank debit card works here,
Oh, okay,
so you can take money. You can take more money out if you need more money.
okay, sounds good. Yeah,
It's like I said, the infrastructure is very good. It's the number one tourist destination in the world. It's the easiest place to visit, and you're not going to have any trouble. It's going to be easy. Don't worry. And plus, you have me, so it's like, fuck, you're done.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
So I'll send you my stuff we can hook up on. So we got it on our phones.
Yeah. Well, um, I think that's just about all I can think about for now.
Awesome.
I'll let you off the hook.
Yeah, all right. Oh, cool, man. I got to go to the dentist, so I'm going to get my cavity drilled here.
Oh, yeah.
They got the cheapest medical care here. It's so good, too.
Yeah, I heard from last year you recommended one of the guys that just somewhere to go for a dentist,
Oh,
and it was the cheapest. He best quality. The hotel hooked him up.
I got a better one. I got a local one. The guy's so good and so fucking professional, and so cheap too, and nearby too, not far. If you need any teeth cleaning or anything, definitely get it done here. It's way cheaper.
Yeah, for sure. Well, super interested in coming down, and
All right, sounds good, man.
I'm super excited.
That sounds good, man. That sounds great. Yeah, okay. All right, Joe. Thanks for your time. And since we're going to post this one, thanks for listening, guys. It's been a very long one, but I hope it's been interesting. If you want to travel and if you're looking for change in your life, that's what it kind of sounds like, is like expanding yourself. This is a fucking some good information in this one. So thanks for listening. Let's see. Cut this thing off. I'll leave you on for a second.